I'm used to like week one really sucking with my picks, which I could somewhat excuse to everything's on paper. You don't really know. Sometimes you get tricked by the preseason. It's hard to know how teams are going to respond when the games start to really matter. But week two, start to figure things out. And instead, that didn't happen. Like, I was terrible. That's embarrassing. I did worse on week two than I did in week one, and I don't know that I've ever done that. So I'm sitting here season to date now, 18 and 14 picking the winners, and 13 and 19 against the spread. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. um, I hope I'll do better here in week three, but I wouldn't exactly be putting your money down based off of anything that I say at this point until proven otherwise. Or if you're wise, you'd be like, no, I would never bet any money on what he says, except if you're betting against the Jeff Jinx. Now, when I put out the Jeff Jinx, like that carries power. That's real. And you could take that to the fucking bank. Just a matter when I call the shot on the Jeff Jinx. But that's a real power. And if you don't believe me, folks, go back and look at the history. I promise you it's true. But anyways, let's take a look. You know, started with the Thursday night matchup. I was taking the Jets minus 6.5 all day. The Jets at least look like they had a little bit of a rhythm, and the Patriots are being stubbornly stupid about insisting on continuing to start Jacoby Brissett. You've now wasted 3 games of potentially valuable experience for your hopeful face of the franchise of the future in Drake May. Like, what do you gain from that? What do you accomplish? You're 1-2. You're dumb. Your offense stinks. It could stink just as much with Drake May, but at least you'd be learning valuable experience. If Jacoby Brissett had so much upside, if he was so good, he would have already been a starter somewhere else. Like, come on, what's his upside? And it's not even meant to be a knock or an insult to Jacoby Brissett, but he's been around long enough you know what he is. Like, he's been in the league about a decade now. You know, like, what the fuck are you doing? It'd be different if Jacoby Brissett was like a 3-time Pro Bowler and, you know, in the top 10 or so, 12 quarterbacks in the league. Then it makes sense to sit a Drake May behind him. But that's not what you got here. When in doubt, start the young quarterback. I don't give a shit what any other person says. Start the young quarterback. Context matters. So started off the week 1-0. That's at least positive. I just don't know how the rest of this is going to go, so I wouldn't take anything I say too much to the bank. Starting off with the early Sunday matchups, you've got the Giants traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. I can't call them the skid marks since they won last week, but they're still skid marks in general for what they did to acquire Deshaun Watson and all the money they paid him like dumb dicks. The Browns are favored by 6.5 in this matchup, which, you know, when you look at the fact that the Giants stink, and we all know that, but it's not exactly like the Browns blew the Jags out of the water. They won by, 5 points, and that's coming off a week 1 drubbing at the hands of the Cowboys. It's reasonable to think that Browns could win. It seems a little rich to think that they're going to win by a touchdown plus. Although, again, it's duly noted, the Giants are really bad. And why the fuck you would think Danny Dimes is going to be your guy? It just defies all logic. So give me the Browns to win. Give me the Giants to cover the 6.5. You've got the Packers traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. You had the Packers last week without Jordan Love, win behind 150-plus yard performance from Josh Jacobs and Malik Willis doing just enough. Meanwhile, the Titans are at 0-2. Some Will Levis boners mixed in. Really desperate must-win game for them. If the Packers go into this game with Jordan Love, the line probably moves. If at the time of this recording, I'm just not sure whether he's playing or not. But this could also be the Malik Willis revenge game. Like they moved him aside for Will Levis. So you know what? Either way, fuck it. Whether Love plays or not, give me the Packers to win plus the 3. Got the Bears traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts after that exhibition of peak Bears football in prime time. You knew it was coming. The Bears coming to this one 1-1. The Colts in a desperate spot, already 0-2 and having a loss to the Texans. They badly, badly need this one. They need Anthony Richardson to protect the ball. They need to get a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. Give me the Colts minus the 1.5. You've got a really interesting matchup, more so than you might have thought looking ahead to the schedule at week 3 before the season started. You've got the undefeated Texas traveling to Minnesota to take on the 2-0 Vikings coming off of their big, impressive victory over the 49ers last week. This is a statement type of spot for either one of these teams. If the Texans go on the road and beat a 2-0 Vikings team, now they're sitting at 3-0. you're starting to take them really seriously. Meanwhile, if the Vikings come into this one and they find a way to win, now you've beaten a team that is viewed by quite a number of people as a serious, if not contending team in the AFC to go to 3-0. It's a big spot to be in. I'll take the Texans in this one, though. I'll take C.J. Stroud over Sam Darnold. Give me Houston minus a 1.5. You've got the Eagles traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Apparently, offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak can solve murder rates in New Orleans and crime rates and everything else because of the way that offense has been humming the past 2 weeks. He had 4 touchdowns by Alvin Kamara last week. Saints, no surprise, coming as 3-point favorites. I'll get squirrely here. I'll take the Eagles plus 3. You've got the Chargers traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Even though the Steelers are favored, I'm sorry, give me the Chargers plus 2.5. I can't sit there and say Justin Fields is going to start off 3-0. It feels a little rich. You got the Broncos traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Bit of a danger game for the Bucs coming off of their win last Sunday in Detroit against the Lions. This is a watch-out spot, but I assume they'll be able to get the job done. Give me the Buccaneers minus the 6. Moving to the late Sunday afternoon matchups, you got the Panthers traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Oh boy, it's the Ginger Rocket, Andy Dalton. Yeah, I'm sure things will be so much better. Give me the Raiders minus the 6. You got the Dolphins traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Dolphins, obviously, without Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, the safe play's got to be Seattle minus the 4.5 here, doesn't it? You got the Ravens traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and this is a really interesting matchup, right? The Ravens have started off 0-2 with losses to the Chiefs and the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Cowboys looked great in week 1 against the Browns, looked like crap week 2 against the Saints. One of these teams, is trying to fight against starting off 0-3. The other team wants to go to 2-1. Should be a marquee one. There's going to be major media diarrhea. This is the game of the week when you're talking about a 1-1 and an 0-2 team, but it features the fucking Cowboys, so of course it does. Dak versus Lamar should actually be a fun one, so give me Baltimore minus the 1. You've got the 49ers traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams as 6.5-point favorites, which the Rams are 0-2. They haven't been good, and they're coming off of a blowout loss to the Cardinals last week, but it's not exactly like the 49ers lit the world on fire last week in their loss to the Vikings. Give me the 49ers to win, but give me the Rams to cover the 6.5. And then you got the Lions traveling to Arizona to take on a Cardinals team. Marvin Harrison showed up last week in a big way. Kyler Murray showed up in a big way last week. The Lions smarting a little bit after their loss to the Buccaneers at home. Give me the Lions to rebound here. Detroit minus the 3. The Sunday night matchup, you've got the Chiefs traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Somebody, somehow, somewhere thought it was a good idea to put Kirk Cousins in prime time for 2 straight weeks. How the fuck does that happen? However, I will say this. They found a way to win on Monday night against the Eagles. So this is a spot that they should be taken seriously. I imagine that Atlanta crowd's going to be fired up and ready to go. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they're 2-0. They escaped, for lack of a better word, the first 2 weeks against the Ravens and the Bengals. Took on a couple of potential contending teams in the AFC. Now they get to face off somebody in the NFC. I'll take the Chiefs minus the 3 in this one. I'm sorry, at the end of the day, it's still Kirk Cousins in primetime versus Patrick Mahomes in primetime. Where the fuck do you think I'm going to go? And then for some reason, we have 2 Monday night games that are going to be running pretty opposite of each other. For whatever reason, I do not know why they do this. Why not put them on at different time? I'd go on and on and on. But you got the Jaguars traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Bills at 0-2. We have plenty of rest here. Give me the Bills minus the 5.5. And then to round it out, somehow we ended up with the Commanders taking on the Bengals in primetime on Monday night. Oh, what the fuck? The Bengals as 7.5-point favorites, even though aren't they 0-2? And the Commanders just won. Austin Seibert better bring his leg. We'll be curious to see how Jaden Daniels performs in the spotlight in prime time. The Bengals really badly need this one. Give me the Bengals minus the 7.5.